was going to just mention two things that this week has the blessing, the Kohanic blessing, the priestly blessing. And one of the things that reminds us is the ability that each one of us has. This is in the book of Numbers, Parshas Naseh, that each one of us has. Even this is specifically a commandment to the Kohen, the priests among the Jewish people. There's three different roles, and one of the roles is of the priests. Those are the sons and the children of Aaron, and they have the ability to give a blessing. And the blessing starts with the blessing that God should bless you and he should guard you. And Rashi says that it is providing us in, I could turn on the video actually, it's providing us both, providing us the ability to, God is bestowing abundance on, there's two parts to the abundance. One is the abundance of the material and the spiritual. And then there is the promise that it will not be in any way taken away from us. That is what the Shmercha, that God will guard you. So God will bless us and he will guard us. And the beauty of the blessing is that, and for us, each one of us to remember, is that how much we are in the hands of God, because we all want the great many things physically. We all want to have an abundance of wealth. We want to have an abundance of property. We want to have all kinds of abundances. But at the end of the day, the challenge is that doesn't mean anything. We don't know that we're going to have it in the next instant. So what the blessing is teaching us is the humility to recognize that, number one, the abundance that we have, that we all want, that abundance that we have is from God Almighty. And every second that we have it and that it stays in our possession, it stays with us for us to use properly for the service of God, that is also an incredible, and only coming from God Almighty himself. So it's so important for us to remember that, because we can get into the mentality that, oh, someone's interfering with us, someone's taking things away from us. And we have to remember that the things that we had in the first place came from God Almighty, and whether we keep them or don't keep them is only coming from God Almighty. It's God's blessing that's upon us, is that which brings us the things that are useful for our souls and our bodies to thrive in this world. And God guarding it is the way that we keep it. And while we have to do our role in doing our efforts to make a vessel for that blessing, we have to recognize that it's really from God Almighty. And no matter how many, a person can have $100 million in the bank account or $100 billion in the bank account, but then he's worried if the bank accounts are going to stay open. In fact, I logged into my banking app today, and it showed my accounts, a bunch of accounts. It says all these accounts are closed. It had all the accounts like appear twice. It had the accounts and all the names. You know how you can nickname the accounts, what the purpose of each account is? All those nicknames disappeared. So it just said, checking account, select checking, and then the last 4 digits of the account number, and it had the correct balances. And then it had all the accounts repeating themselves. And they said they're all closed. This is all on one long screen. And so I took a screenshot of it just to remind us, to remind myself, and remind my family, listen, so one had the first reaction, well, this is what it's like in the world of electronics. Because in one glitch in the computer, all the accounts are showing as being closed. And for all I know, they may, who knows if they're closed or not. But it's not just because of electronics. 100 years ago with banks, a bank could go to business. You could show up the next morning and the bank is locked. And there's no money available there. So what we think our bank account balance is it's only matters what it's there when we come to draw on it, to put it into use. And that's really all that's dependent on God's blessing. And we should be blessed to recognize that, number one, is we have the ability to recognize this, and to be aware of this. We have some pygmy dwarf goats, And it's fascinating to watch them because they appreciate, they like the food, they like the things that we give them, but they don't really have any appreciation of the significance of it. They don't write us poems afterwards. Dear Rabbi Smith and family, thank you so much for constantly providing for us and working for us 24 hours, 7 days a week to provide us food and shelter and everything we need. They don't do that because the reason they don't do that is not just because they don't have the language to do that. They don't have the conception. They don't have the mental conception to be able to recognize this. Although every living thing does recognize its creator and does praise its creator, King Solomon says that every living thing offers praise. So they have conception on a certain level. But we're gifted with the ability to recognize from whence comes all our blessings. And that's the unique position of a human being, to recognize that and to acknowledge that. And the acknowledgement is the gratitude of recognizing where it's coming from. And when we have that gratitude, it also brings humility, because then we recognize that a person is humbled by the awesomeness that the bank account is still, the bank even still exists the next morning. And this actually relates to what we started learning this week, that the Shaykh of Amuna, from the father of the Mittler Rebbe, who was studying the Mittler Rebbe, his Rabbi Dovber, his book, The Gate of Oneness. So his father wrote a book similarly named, on the gate of oneness and faith. And he explains over there that the whole world is coming to an existence at every instance from the utterance of God Almighty. So this is a miracle. It's a miracle of gratitude that our existence from one instant to the next is totally by grace of God Almighty. And it's a gift. And then we have gratitude and humility to recognize that, and humility to recognize that every instant is a complete new beginning. So with that, and Rabbi Chirke, welcome to add anything if you'd like.
It comes from, person may be afraid of experiencing divinity because of the energy and that, and well, it's not going to be stable. I'd rather just, have a stable experience. Well, the answer is that God can also protect this that experience. That it should be stable and enduring. And
well, and that's the second of the blessings, the priestly blessings, is that God should shine His countenance upon you and be gracious to you. That graciousness is that it's something that's now available to you in an enduring way. And the third blessing talks about peace. That
right.
The peace should dwell upon you, and that there shouldn't be a conflict in you should not be experiencing what's peace. Where does the battle start? It's battles we see on the streets are all starting from the battles inside our own experience. The stress and the combat inside between the physical and the spiritual, and do I have enough? Will I have enough? Is enough going to last? All these things are the battle that, and this, do I have enough spiritual? Do I have enough physically? That guy has more than me. These are all battles inside our thinking. And so the blessing is, no, God is blessing us with peace, that we can live in a state of peace and not be disturbed by the fact that we don't have a grip on it. God has the grip on it. We don't have any grip on it whatsoever. But that doesn't bother us, because
right.
we know that we're in good hands, and the whole of creation is in good hands.
So the rabbis that felt the pain didn't bother them. They didn't have a grip on it. This was part of the process, and God knows the process.
Right. Right. And the real pain is interesting. The mimer that you were learning at the end from the Rebbe. So the word for being crushed, the word typically for kosis is crushed, but I think in some ways it's even more appropriate to use the word devastated. That what the Rebbe is saying is that even though you're in a place of that peace and you're feeling calm and you feel it, you are able to float along, so to speak, in this fluffy existence of knowing that everything's okay and God's taking care of it all. You're still, I'm, and each one of us is supposed to be still devastated over the fact that there's a neighbor or a person across the world that hasn't grasped that yet. And he's still disturbed, and he still has that conflict going on in his head, and therefore a conflict going on in the space, the family, and the community, and the world around him. That devastates us.
And also we also recognize that devastation is not the purpose over here. The goal is, since these are states that trigger each other, that devastation actually brings out the essence of God. That actually,
right, and because why? Because it motivates us to now remedy the situation by bringing that state of serenity and that state of peace to each and every human being, which the only peace is the recognition of God Almighty.
right.
And that will bring a peace in all the conflicts in the world. People talk about the conflicts, right now in the Middle East. The source problem is a lack of recognition of God Almighty by everyone who's involved. If once everyone who's involved recognizes God Almighty, then everyone would conduct themselves properly, and there would be no need to attack anyone else, and there would be no need for anyone to act in a way of concession and defeat that just promotes more attacks. All that results from a lack of awareness of God Almighty. So that's really what the root issue is. So when a person sees a horrifying scene or something they don't like going on in the world, instead of just saying, "Oh, that's terrible, can't believe that's happening," what about those terrible people that are doing that? The question is, what can I do to remedy the situation to bring the awareness of God Almighty to every single human being, which will just completely eliminate any need for this person's internal disturbances to spill out into the world, because he's not going to have any internal disturbances anymore.
Right.
So God bless you all, and God willing, we should see this in the world even before we meet next week.
Amen. Amen.
Have a good Shabbos. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.